Hey there, welcome back to Special Educators Resource Room. I'm Jennifer from Positively Learning, and today we're getting real. Well, we get real every week, but this is really real because this episode is all about a moment I haven't shared much before, one that is deeply personal, but it's also deeply universal. If you've ever sat alone in your classroom after hours staring at a stack of IEPs and wondering, how am I supposed to do this? How do I keep up with all of this? This is the story of that time I cried over progress monitoring. Now, it's also the story of what I did about it, which is why I'm sharing it here. It's not all sad. But I want to start off with the breakdown that sparked the breakthrough. Let's go back to a Thursday afternoon. I don't know if it was Thursday. It could have been any day of the week because I cried more than once. The day had already gone sideways. Students had meltdowns. Support staff called in. I'm running on caffeine and fumes. We'd had a fire drill. Students' behavior plan had to be rewritten. I have a PLC meeting that I don't want to go to. And progress reports are due the next day. And I hadn't even touched my data binders. I kept telling myself I was going to stay after school and I'm just going to power through. It's fine. You've done this before. But when I pulled out that first IEP and flipped to the goals and then glanced over at all of these data sheets that were empty, I felt horrible. I had that sinking feeling. I knew I'd been tracking student growth informally, and I knew learning was happening, but I couldn't prove it. Not in a clean, documented way that would pass any type of review. And that's when it happened. Tears. Not the kind that you can blink away, pretend didn't happen, but the kind that creep in and take over. And you feel exhausted and frustrated and you can't catch your breath. That moment broke me. I felt embarrassed and ashamed because you see, I wasn't a new teacher. I knew better. So what was really happening? Let's break it down. My tears were not about being lazy or unprepared. They were because I was always trying to do everything and feeling like none of it was enough. And here's what I finally realized after a lot of reflection. I didn't have a system. I did not have a working system for ongoing, consistent data collection. I was overcomplicating what progress monitoring needed to look like. I was trying to gather data on every single goal every single week, which is impossible. And I had zero alignment between the materials I was using for instruction and the data I was required to collect. So I wasn't failing. I was trying to function without a framework. So what do we do about it? Once I accepted that the system wasn't working, I did give myself permission to rebuild it from the ground up because I never wanted to feel that way again. Here's what I did. First, I reframed the purpose of data. I had to shift my mindset. Data wasn't going to be just a fancy checklist for compliance. It was going to be something I could use to determine what my students needed. this reframe changed how I approached the whole process. It didn't feel like something pressure-filled. It felt like something that was actually going to help me teach better. Step 2, create a goal at a glance page with a data lens. This doesn't need to be fancy or something you purchase. It's just a list of student goals, academic or functional, benchmarks or short-term objectives. You can copy and paste these, and what mastery looks like. And most importantly, how are you going to assess it? Is it timed? Do you need short reading passages? Is it task cards that students are completing independently? As I went through this, if I couldn't answer those questions, it meant I didn't really understand the goal. So any data I was managing to collect probably wasn't that usable. The next step is to gather all of the materials you're going to use now that you understand the goals and how you're going to assess them. Just 2 episodes ago, I talked about building an IEP work bin from scratch. Definitely want to go listen to that. But in summary, we're just gathering all the resources that students are going to use so that we're not scrambling and data feels easy to collect when it's time. So here's what you could put in your bin. This is not Pinterest pretty. This is practical. You want to gather 4 to 6 tasks, whether file folders, work binder activities, worksheets, task boxes, whatever you're going to use, and you're going to put that in the bin. You want some type of assessment tool for your key goals. So it could be a reusable data sheet, maybe it is a checklist. And then you want to record the time of the month that your data is collected. That could just be a sticky note that's placed in the bin. So for example, if a student had a reading comprehension goal, you're going to have some reading passages or some task cards that are based on that comprehension goal. If a student had a math fluency goal, you could have some quick fact task cards or fact fluency, and you can stick them in the bin. One per month, you are done. The goal of collecting these resources during this step is to remove the friction. You want this to feel as easy as possible to grab the right tool and get this data collected, hopefully in less than 5 minutes. And as we're talking about resources, we want to use what already exists, just use them smarter. This is where you could grab your task boxes. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to create fancy custom assessments. What you do need is alignment between what your students practice and what you're measuring. For example, you have a sorting task for identifying verbs, perfect for a grammar goal. You have a file folder matching math facts to sums. Use that for your math fluency data. You have a comprehension task about main idea. Use that as your progress monitoring tool. And here's a tip. Label or tag these tasks inside your system so you know which ones are going to be data friendly. For me, what I always did was focus in on 10 task cards. Not only was that a sweet spot for my students' attention span, but it also made it so easy to grab the data. Now, if you're not sure if a task counts, let me say this. If you can clearly define the skill and rate student accuracy, you're going to be collecting valid data. Now we want to take these resources in the IEP work bin that you've just put together, and we want to create a weekly routine that's actually going to work for you. Here's the routine I recommend. It is the opposite of being overwhelmed. Monday, you're going to focus in on one student per content block. Maybe you have 2 blocks in the morning and 2 blocks in the afternoon. That's 4 students. Students are going to be working in their IEP work bins or their task box system, and you're going to use observation. As a student works with a task, you're going to be grabbing a quick data point. Tuesday, repeat with 4 new students. Wednesday, repeat with 4 more students. Thursday, you guessed it, repeat with 4 more students. Now, Fridays, let's mix it up. That's when you're going to file the data. You can update the data sheet and you can celebrate. You just got through your entire caseload in 1 week. It's not fancy, but it is consistent. And most importantly, it keeps you out of that progress report panic spiral. So if you are in the tears stage, you are not alone. And let me leave you with this. If you're in that moment right now, that overwhelmed, teary, how am I ever going to keep up moment, I see you. You're not doing anything wrong. It is okay to rebuild. It's okay to simplify. It's definitely okay to stop trying to track every goal every day. Please give yourself grace and a plan, because the tears might still come, but you get to decide what happens next. You are already doing the hardest part. Let's make the rest easier. If this episode hit home, please share it with a teammate. Let them know they're not alone either. And if you want help building those IEP work bins or choosing the right task box for data collection, you know where to find me. I'll catch you next time in the Special Educators Resource Room.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe buttons so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.